Okay, my beautiful friends, here we are together again at last for my lovely post-market wrap-up on this Wednesday, June 17th, 2020. I have a lot of stuff to cover in this video with you. Alright, so just kind of bear with me on this. I hope I don't blow my stack off. It was really quite a day with regard to Fed Chair Powell and his testifying before Congress. You want to talk about the biggest bunch of inept people to ever hold office, ever in the history of the world? Well, that's the United States Congress today. And we'll talk a little more about that. So let's start off with the markets. We had a mixed day. The NASDAQ put on a fractional gain. The S&P 500 had a fractional loss. The Dow Jones Industrial Average peeled off about 170 points. Okay, so pretty much a big fat zero. We did nothing today in the markets. Crude oil fell under a little pressure. Cryptocurrencies fell under a little pressure. Gold and silver flat. 10-year yield came down a little bit. Whatever. But what we heard today out of the mouth of Yellowstone, Fed Chair Powell, it's just really unbelievable. And between that and the things, they're not even people, okay? They're things that are now sitting in office. We put them there, I guess, to help us, the American people. Well, we made the wrong choices across the board. I didn't hear one question asked of the Fed chair today that really made any difference. And it's all about, you know what it's all about? Let me explain this to you if you don't know already. What do members of Congress and the President of the United States, current or the last guy or the one before him or the one before him, what do they all have in common? Well, they go right to the Fed when they need something, when they need more cash, when they're asking for rates to be lower or negative rates or whatever it might be. Why do you think that is? Why do you think the supposed two-party system always goes to one place when they're looking for something? Well, it should be very evident to you. The Federal Reserve is the government, not just of the United States, of the world. The Fed is the hub with their tentacles going all over the world, around the world, to other central banks who are running the show. The Federal Reserve today, because of the charade that has just been pulled on us all, the scamdemic, they are in total control. Absolute control. And I want to cover a few things with you to go through the day. So I'm going to X out of this real quick. I'm probably going to turn bright. Let's see. Okay. I want to cover these things with you. Let's go. Let's start off with Jim Cramer. I know it's a weird place to start, but I'm going to do this in a blow by blow as to how I cover this. Jim Cramer today on CNBC is pushing this COVID charade as hard as he can. He's 100% committed to keeping the fear narrative going. And as a fellow trader, it disgusts me, Jim Cramer, really, to hear you pushing this thing on everyone. It's a fake thing. Let me tell you what the new symbol is for the New World Order. It's a face mask. Okay, that is the symbol for the New World Order. And it has multiple layers to it. I want you to think about that, but that is the New World Order symbol. Now, I want to talk about this here before we get to Powell. We heard from several Fed presidents today. This one here, Fed President Kaplan, he's explaining that the Fed has a lot of dry powder. So, again, what does this mean in the grand scheme of things? The Fed, which is the government, is being allowed to fulfill its destiny. And it's just so bad to me to hear, no one wants to do anything about it. Now let's move on here to Steve Mnuchin yet again. Steve Mnuchin does not want you to know, yet again, this came out again today, who received public funds for bailouts, and you know the reason behind it, okay? Because number one, it's multiple levels to this as well, because they're probably going to be getting more capital, so you can't know about the initial capital they got, all right? And of course, it's about bonuses. These CEOs of these corporations that got bailed out, public funds, are going to get bonuses. But it would cause a public uproar if it were disclosed that CEO, whoever, got X amount of millions after getting a public bailout. So between Kudlow yesterday saying he agrees with Steve Mnuchin that the public should not be made aware of who got these bailout funds, why don't we just go right to the top? You want to try to make a difference? Go to President Trump's Twitter feed. He's there constantly. And tweet the president. Hey, Mr. President, you said that we were going to get to know, that we the people would get to know who got the bailout funds. Well, what happened to that? Why are you sending out your henchmen, Steve Mnuchin and Larry Kudlow, to do your bidding? Sir, what's the matter? You can't talk? He loves to tweet, so tweet the president. Let's see what he says. I already covered this. This New World Order symbol is the face mask. It's an incredible thing to watch. Let's move forward here. Now, again, they're going off on this idiotic, mind-twisting mind game on Federal Reserve yield curve control, like it's something new. The Federal Reserve has been controlling the yield curve since quantitative easing 1. So here's the headline. Yield curve control could complicate the Fed's exit strategy. The Fed's exit strategy. This is what I wrote. Propaganda. All caps. The Fed has been controlling the yield curve since QE1. Moreover, the Fed has no exit strategy. Their century-long plus plan has been to own it all. And that's what's happening now. This is why. Today, for example, all these Congress people go into the Fed. Oh, by the way, did you hear that one from Powell? Oh, I agree with all of you out here who are calling for the Fed to do more. It's incredible. Now, how about this one? The number 2 man at the Federal Reserve. This is what he said. The pandemic is pushing inflation. It's too low. So what's the translation here? First of all, there's a picture of him. If you want to see this, I tweeted it and I put it on my Facebook timeline. Look at the happy, smug look on this guy's face. Here it is. They literally throw it in our face. This is me. I'm reading a quote. Yet another excuse to print more cash and buy assets. They don't even try to hide what they're attempting to pull off, people. They don't even try to hide it. So there's the excuse. Not enough inflation, so we got to print more cash out of thin air. We got to buy more assets. Unbelievable. And then again here, how about this? This is one of those things that makes me want to flip out. So you have the Fed chair, being questioned by idiot after idiot after idiot. And he's sitting there explaining, well, here, let me just read you what I wrote here. The Fed, he's defending why the Fed has now spent more than $200 trillion in asset purchases that we know of, okay? And remember, every day the Fed is allowed to do this, they get exponentially stronger. It's so sick. It really is. And then there's an article here I posted about Jim Rickards, and he's talking about how the free market is dead. Love Jim Rickards. We've actually spoken at least once, but I think he's a little behind the curve. Yeah, Jim. We know the free market's dead. We haven't had it in a long time. Anyway, I want to do one more thing before I go on here. I want to give another shout out to the stock screener on my website. People, it's free. There's no sign-ups. There's no anything. If you go to my website, there's a link in the description of the video. Very bottom, there's a stock screener there. This stock screener has been 99.9% correct. 99.9% correct. So if you're looking for something to trade, just go to the stock screener. I set it up for you. Okay, there's nothing for you to do. Just look at it. Couldn't be easier. Again, there's a link right here in the description of this video. All kinds of stuff on my website. Now, I want to bring this to your attention too. We heard from Deutsche Bank today. Yeah, Deutsche Bank today. And they're talking about there's a 1 in 3 chance, I'm going to read it, that there's a massive disaster worse than COVID-19 could hit us. Now, understand what the agenda is here. And I'm going to read this. They must and will find something else to cause mass fear. Fear is a key agenda of the New World Order. You know that, along with the face masks. Be afraid. This shows I am afraid of something, okay? This whole thing is a game. I think we all understand that. But fear allows them to control your mind. And what do they want? They want total control. Absolute total control. Let's move forward here a little bit. Powell again today keeps talking about the large, powerful tools of the Federal Reserve, backing up his second in command. All kinds of money can be printed out of thin air, added to a digital screen. And he went on to say, the Federal Reserve, they're openly buying corporate debt. Now, I want to read this to you. Okay, this is me. So tell me, how is it that the Fed can now buy corporate debt, effectively creating or maintaining zombie companies? Meanwhile, U.S. small businesses must fend for themselves. How can they compete? This is another New World Order agenda that is to eliminate corporate competition. They want you gone. If you have a small business, they want you gone. I don't know another way to put it here. And this gets even worse here. Let me ask you this question, and I want you to think about it. Take a deep breath. Reseat yourself, because I really, really want you to put your head to work in this. Take a deep breath. Ready? Here's a question, and I want you to answer it, okay? And I'm going to read the comments. Here's the question. Is it fair that the Fed is buying the debt of companies who have been buying back shares of their own stock for an entire decade? Do you think it's fair that the Federal Reserve is buying this debt, taking it off the hands of these corporations who have been buying back shares of their own stock for an entire decade? I personally think that these companies here that are getting public funds, getting bailed out here, they should be selling shares of stock, okay, blocks of them, to raise capital. But that won't happen. Do you know why? Because it would affect the stock market in a negative way. So instead of doing that, the Fed's buying all the debt. Do you think that's fair? Think about it. Write a comment. And if it really gets under your skin, tweet the president at @RealDonaldTrump. See what the president says. You will not hear a word. Not a single word. Now, this is frightening. And I want to bring this to your attention. Powell, again, in his testimony, said, quote, I think, I'm going to read it, I think this has been a once-in-a-lifetime event, referring to what? The coronavirus. What would make him say that? Because, again, this was a black ops operation by the Federal Reserve. They are responsible for the release of the coronavirus. They are responsible for the shutdown of the global economy, so they can get in here and do what they're doing now, being called upon to issue more debt, being called upon to buy assets more and more. This is what it's all about. I think you know that if you follow this blog. I've covered this, I think, pretty well. Okay, here we go. Powell was sitting there, and I'm just going to read this to you, okay? This is me. Powell is testifying live and making every imaginable excuse as to why the Fed needs to maintain support of the markets and economy. Translation: the Fed must be allowed to fulfill its destiny to be the lender and buyer of last resort so they can own the world. Henceforth, the release of this coronavirus, the charade, and again, just to push that point home, Powell said, I think this has been a once-in-a-lifetime event. That's a quote. You think he knows a little more of these letting out here people? I think you would agree. Oh, and of course, again, Powell said, I agree with those of you that are calling for more fiscal support. What is he saying? He's saying basically this, and this is something else I wrote. The Federal Reserve is ready, willing, and able to lend unlimited funds and buy unlimited assets indefinitely. I want you to think about that. It's part of this New World Order agenda. It's unbelievable. And here's another Fed president that came out today, Fed Bostic. This is what he said, quote, this pandemic has exacerbated structural inequalities, and the Fed is willing to provide any funds necessary to help fix the issue. What do you think about that? Really, what do you think? I'm done with this for now. Let me close this real quick. I want to hear from you. I know this is a long video. I want you to cover these things I've spoken about here. I want you to think about it. I want you to post a comment, and I want you to share this video. I want you to let other people hear it. Maybe they need to hear it in a different way, because what we're witnessing now, people, is, well, you fill in the blank, okay? I don't even have a word for it or words or a phrase, because it's frightening. It really, really is what we're seeing here. And the fact that the silence is deafening, all right? And the fact that we have these inept imbeciles sitting in elected positions going to the Federal Reserve, hey, we need more. Hey, we need more. Hey, we want more. What do you got? Can you see what's happening here? I think you can. All right, so in summary, real quick, a lot of stuff went on today. The Fed chair's testimony was the highlight, obviously, moment of the day. Stocks finished mixed. Nothing really is going on with any asset pretty much across the board today. Anyway, I'm going to read the comments and I want to hear from you. All right. This guy here loves you a lot. We need each other like we've never needed each other before. Okay. We got to come together on this. We got to get more people aware of what is happening. All right. Love you. I'm out of here. See you in the morning.